weapons training for lightsabers and the Hapkido cane. So with any type of cane training or lightsaber training, one of the most important things we want to do is we want to respect our weapons, and that goes for all areas, adults, children, everyone included. So we want to make sure that they use this safely, that this is not a toy. We want to make sure and address it and use it like a weapon. So use your weapon with respect at all times. Components of the cane, what's it comprised of? So whenever we look at the cane as the weapon, we want to think about it in a few different ways. So we teach our class that this is the blade of the weapon. The underside part of the cane is the blade. I would recommend that students that have canes, that they tape them up just to make sure that they don't splinter. So the blade of the cane is going to be taking the impact. The backside of the cane is called the shaft. So I'm looking at the backside and then the front side. Now I've got the butt, which is the backside of the hook here. So I can use that for striking later on. And then I do have the hook component of the cane. So I'm going to use that for grabbing and holding. So the hook part of the cane, the butt, the shaft, then, I'm sorry, the shaft and then the blade, and then we also have the tip of the cane. And the cane tip is going to be used for spears. So that is going to be my component breakdown of the cane. How to hold your weapon. So one of the things we look at is whenever we hold the cane, first thing that I want to do is I want to make sure that when I grip it, I want to have my thumb on the back side of that weapon to make sure that I have good control of that technique. So if I don't, the weapon is a little bit less controllable and it's harder for me to hold. So I want to make sure and put my thumb on the back side of the cane. Now what you'll find too is with adults, this isn't necessarily an issue. So if they need to choke down or choke up, if you're choking up so high, then half of the cane is not utilized. That's not something that you want to do, but you want to find kind of a happy medium. You can see where actually this is worn off for where my thumb has actually been on the back side of that cane again and again and again for years. It's worn the paint off because that's where my thumb goes. I know exactly where that goes. So from here, if I'm down a little bit too, I may not have the control of the weapon like I should. So I'm going to have to find kind of that happy medium, and students are going to have to kind of choke up and choke down to find out what's the proper position for them. Anything too high, they're going to get their hands hit. So we want to make sure it's closer down to the hook, and it should be comfortable for them whenever they begin to hold it. Holding the lightsaber. Now the lightsaber is going to be a little bit different because it can be used as a one-handed weapon, and it also can be used as a two-handed weapon. So one of the things we want to look at is we're not using our thumb like we did for the cane. We're going to be using our hands in like a punch position to be grabbing and holding on to that weapon. Now one of the things that we can do is we can use a second hand. Now a second hand for a cane is not something that we would necessarily use. It also makes the weapon with two hands a little bit slower than it does for one. So we want to try to teach both ways. So whenever we start with our grips, you're going to have that one grip of the one hand on top, just like I'm making a punch, and I'm still able to use my lightsaber and be able to strike and block with one hand. Now, kids may not have the arm strength to be able to do this, so is it okay for them to use two hands? Absolutely. So when we start to use two hands, the technique is still going to be the same. We're just going to be able to move with two hands instead of one, and my hands now are connected to the weapon, which makes it a little bit slower where I can start to move and spin a little bit with one hand. Two hands, I'm a little bit more committed. Each technique is okay though, so if you see kids with two hands, it is correct. If you see them with one hand, that is correct as well. So when we begin with our meditation, the first thing that we'll do is we'll start by having ourselves in a kneeling position. So in that meditation or that kneeling position, whenever we're ready to clear our mind of anything we're thinking about, we place the weapon right in front of us. So if it's going to be our cane or if it's going to be our lightsaber, we're going to lay it down in front of us, put our hands on our lap, then we close our eyes, and then we meditate. Once we open our eyes and then we begin to stand up, one of the things we don't want to do is we don't want to poke a hole in the mat. So we want to make sure and stand up correctly. So as we stand up, whether it's with my lightsaber or with my cane, I'm going to stand up, hold my weapon. Once we stand and we get into our standing position, we want to go to our attention stance. We're going to take our weapon and we're going to put it behind us. We're going to hold our weapon. We're going to stand with our weapon at attention stance. So if you see the weapon is behind us, if that is a lightsaber, it is the same way. Standing to the side, the weapon is behind me. I'm holding it with my thumb up and my weapon down, holding it in position so I'd be ready to bow. Once I get to my standing position, I'm going to hold my weapon and I'm going to hold it with my thumb up. You can see as I grip, it's going to come here behind my back. It's going to be up the long side. It's going to be behind my back. So whenever I'm standing my attention stance, I'm ready to start. And then I begin.